The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash, Episode 1, Longest Day, Longest Night by Rainbow Double Dash. Chapter 1, Arrival in Ponyville. Lulamoon. Lyra began. The blue unicorn glared at Lyra's heartstrings. Trixie! She ordered, in a tone normally reserved for informing ponies that their loved ones had met horrible ends, and that one enjoyed relating this fact immensely. Lyra blinked a few times with this intensity. I'm sorry. The mint green unicorn apologized. It's just that Princess Luna said that Trixie was a nickname, and I didn't think I knew you well enough. The other unicorn stared across the wagon cabin at Lyra for a few moments, before sighing. My given name is Trixie Lulamoon. I'm from New Orleans, and the tradition there is to use a pony's second name if they have one. But I hate Lulamoon. So, call me Trixie. Lyra raised an eyebrow. What's wrong with Lulamoon? I hate it. I gathered, but I mean, what's actually wrong with it? The blue unicorn turned her head down, staring at the large cabin's floor. The two had left Canterlot an hour ago, but the train ride still had another hour and a half before it reached their destination of Ponyville. So far, the cabin had just been about the only enjoyable part of the train ride. It had been first class, so the two unicorns had as much space as they wanted to themselves. The cabin was, in fact, almost as large as the apartment that Lyra had been staying in for the past several years while living in Canterlot and attending Luna's School of Magic. Lyra realized, after several minutes of waiting, that Trixie wasn't going to respond to her question. The unicorn let out a sigh as he looked out the train's window as the train sped by Equestria. The entire landscape was blanketed in glistening white snow, the aftermath of a nationwide storm that the weather ponies had insisted was necessary. It gave the land a serene, inspiring appearance, and as long as Lyra sat in the heated train car, she could appreciate the winter wonderland thoroughly. It was enough to make her forget about the grumpy pony sitting across from her and hum out a nice tune. Trixie's head shot up at the melody. What are you doing? She demanded. Lyra glanced at Trixie. Humming. She answered, No, that tune, Trixie clarified, one eye narrowing as she leaned forward. That was Skip My Lou you were humming. No, it wasn't, Lyra responded. They considered the absent-minded song. Was it? I don't know. I wasn't thinking. Now, however, she was, and quite suddenly, a full-toothed grin split her features when enlightenment struck. Oh, stars above. That's why you hate Lulamoon! The mint green unicorn realized. No, it isn't! Trixie insisted, though her white eyes suggested the opposite. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou, Lyra sang, leaning forward. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou, flies in the buttermilk soup, flies you. I'll turn you into a newt, Trixie threatened, pointing a hoof at Lyra. Even as the unicorn continued to sing. Every day in school, when I was a filly, I had to hear ponies singing that song whenever my name was mentioned. And seriously, I will turn you into a newt if you don't stop! Lyra did stop, but only because her laughter was interrupting the song too much. Every time? Every time, Trixie insisted. I don't know. Some pony thought it was funny, and maybe it was funny, but it got old real fast. Her gaze turned to a golden object sitting next to Lyra. Why not put that thing to use? Lyra's horn glowed. A glowing aura of magic wrapped around her lyre as it levitated over in front of her. The unicorn shifted to sitting positions on the train seat, into one most ponies thought looked incredibly uncomfortable, but which Lyra never minded herself. Back resting against the cushioned wall, hind legs hanging over the seat's edge. One of Trixie's eyebrows rose sharply at the sight, and managed to ascend even further as Lyra placed her hooves on either side of her lyre. You're going to play with your hooves? Trixie asked. I'm better with my hooves than magic, Lyra responded matter-of-factly. Trixie blinked a few times at the statement, finding it exceedingly difficult to believe. After a moment, however, she settled on her stomach on the seat. "Fine," the blue unicorn declared, waving a hoof impetuously. "Play on, maestro." My little pony, my little pony. Ah, my little pony. Hardship never meant that much to me. My little pony. But you're all here and now I can see. Stormy weather, lots to share, a musical bond with loving care, teaching laughter. It's an easy feat, and magic makes it all complete. You have my little ponies. How did I ever make so many true friends? You're watching the Lunaverse, made by Fable Double Dash. It can happen only on the hub. Presented by Hasbro. Live read by Martial Art Fruit User. And paid for in association with Equestria Daily. All the news that's fit to print. Love you, Sestro. And Gatorade. And here we are, Lyra proclaimed, as the two stepped from the train and into the cool, crisp morning air. Trixie, grateful for the enchantment woven into her cape that would keep her warm despite the material it was made from. Ponyville. Trixie pulled back her hat's brim, giving what she could see of the town a once-over. Unlike Canterlot, Manhattan, or most of the great cities of Equestria, Ponyville didn't appear to have a single building over 5 stories tall. What the settlement lacked in vertical height, however, it made it up for in horizontal spread. In terms of land area, Ponyville was one of the largest communities in the realm, though its population kept it firmly in the large town category and out of the small city one. Trixie broke from her reverie long enough to see to it that her luggage and Lyra's own were delivered to their respective destinations by a quartet of Earth Pony porters that had accompanied them from Canterlot. She took the time to pass them each a couple of silver bits apiece as a gratuity, and to assure that the best of care was given to their belongings. She quickly afterwards plunged back into her own thoughts, however, as she considered the task that lay before her. The responsibility that she had, through a combination of reasoning, pleading, whining, and maybe a little blackmail, had finally been able to wrest from Princess Luna. No, Ponyville was not a large city like Manhattan, Stalingrad, or her hometown of New Orleans. Well, that was what made it ideal for her to finally put everything she was learning from Luna to practical use. "So," Lyra interrupted, after growing uncomfortable with Trixie's silence, "where to first? The apples? Weather team? Introducing yourself to the mayor?" Trixie glanced at her mint-colored companion, currently wearing a long, warm-looking wool winter cloak and a gray Gatsby cap, somehow fitting snugly over her horn without making the style look uncomfortable. "You're eager," she observed. "No offense, but I want to get this whole escort job over and done with," Lyra responded. Trixie grimaced at Lyra's subtle but clear reminder that the two were not friends, merely acquaintances. "How much is Princess Luna paying you?" she asked. Lyra named a large, round figure. Trixie's eyes widened, causing Lyra to smirk. "Yeah, that was my reaction," she said, as she pulled the brim of her Gatsby cap over her eyes in a sign of mock embarrassment. Trixie looked away at that, her thoughts turning inwards to what the conversation must have been like, or at least how she saw it in her mind's eye. "You!" Princess Luna, tall and regal-looking as ever, said as he pointed to Lyra. "We are investing in our students a measure of responsibility for a change, and making her our representative to Ponyville, and you are for Ponyville, so we ask that you serve her as an escort for a few days as she settles. It's not like you'll have anything else to do, since you're a musician and don't have a real job." "Oh, no," Lyra responded. "You want me to deal with Trixie Lulamoon skip to my Lulamoon? No pony likes her. I've never met her personally, and I would like to continue that lucky streak." "You're right," Luna exclaimed, "especially after that Ice Palace incident. No pony likes Trixie, but at least I'll pay you an exorbitant amount of bits to do so." And then the princess named a number. Lyra considered. "Maybe if you throw in some land," she suggested, "and a title." "Vice ring, Lyra, has a nice ring to it." Trixie. Lyra interrupted her fellow unicorn. Trixie blinked a few times. Salty nearly walked face first into a lamppost that had been stopped only by Lyra's outstretched hoof. The blue unicorn shook her head to clear it. Sorry, she apologized. I was just thinking about stuff. Stuff? Lyra asked. Stuff, Trixie confirmed. And junk. Lyra was silent for a few moments, at the painfully obvious face to her concern, before letting out a sigh. Whatever. So where to first? Trixie considered, looking up to the sky as she did so. For the position of the sun, it looked to be about 11 o'clock. Wherever they went, they had to hurry if they wanted to avoid being caught outside during midday. A rumbling stomach quickly decided Trixie's first destination. The Apple Trust, she decided with a nod. Lyra nodded, turning towards the street and beginning to trot off with her charge in tow. As they walked, Trixie considered the ponies around her. Some gave her an odd look at her choice of clothing, a purple star-studded cape and wizard's hat, but mostly she received only a few polite nods, or the occasional greeting. It was a welcome change from the reputation she had managed to build herself in Canterlot over the past few years, where the best she could usually hope for was an indifferent stare, and those she hadn't received at all over those past few weeks, ever since the Ice Palace. No! Trixie insisted, forcing herself to forget about that night. The ice turned water, getting everywhere, and the absolute livid look in Luna's eyes. No, you're not going to think about that. Restart, Trixie. Restart. Lyra, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Trixie stated. Yeah? Are you lost? Lyra's silence to Trixie's inquiry was answer enough. The blue unicorn let out a long sigh as her companion stopped at a fork in the road, considering as she rubbed the back of her head with one hoof. I thought you grew up in Ponyville, Trixie accused. I did, but I never really went out to the apples, Lyra responded as she looked around. Ponyville is to the east, still visible over the rolling, snow-covered hills. But the sight of the Apple Trust's first and largest farm was somehow evading them. They came into town. No need to go to the farm. So you're lost, Trixie surmised. Lyra glared at her charge for a moment. No! She said firmly, pointing a hoof down the right path. It's that way. She began trotting off, a determined spring to her steps. With a sigh, Trixie followed, glancing nervously at the sky as she did. It's about midday, she noted. I know. Lyra responded gruffly, glancing over her shoulder a moment before returning her attention to the road ahead. It's just a stupid super system. It's not like Corona is going to fly on down and emulate us just for being outside. Trixie shivered nevertheless, and not from the cold. As the two trotted next to a white fence that separated the road from an empty farmer's field, a field notably lacking apples of any kind. Despite Lyra's words, she picked up the pace as much as Trixie did, each cast nervous glances to the sky, as the sun continued its inexorable climb overhead. At a guess, they had maybe 10 minutes, at most, before the sun reached its zenith. Should have gone to my new home first, Trixie muttered to herself. I knew it was too close to midday to head out. She glared at Lyra. Or would you have gotten lost on the way there as well? I'm not lost, Lyra insisted. So, where's Sweet Apple Acres, then? There should be signs. I mean, there were signs all over the place back before I went to Canterlot. I don't know what happened to them. Lyra glared at Trixie. But I am not lost. She glanced ahead. Aha! And I can prove it. Ahead, Trixie and Lyra spotted a gold-coated, orange-made earth pony, trotting with nearly as much speed as the two unicorns were. She was wearing a wide-brimmed sun hat, and saddlebags laden with groceries, and was just beginning to open the gate in the white fence they had been trotting beside when she spotted them. Oh my! She exclaimed, seeing the two unicorns. An odd look of hopelessness came over her features. Oh, what are you two Nels doing out at this time of day? Getting increasingly lost, Trixie answered. glancing once more at the sun. At this point, it was close enough to midday, no one would argue the point. Trixie tried to remember the last time she had been out when the sun was at its zenith, but couldn't for the life of her remembered. No pony stayed outside during midday, without an extremely good reason. "We're not lost," Lyra insisted. She pointed down the dirt path. "It's that way to Sweet Apple Acres, right?" The Earth Pony's helplessness faded away at Lyra's question, replaced by a sort of resignation. Yes," she responded. "Just keep going straight down that way about 2 miles. You can't miss it." "Aha!" Lyra exclaimed, turning to Trixie and sticking out her tongue. Trixie ignored her as she tipped her wizard's cap. "Thank you," she responded, consciously doing nothing to hide her nervousness. She turned to Lyra. "Come on. At full gallop, we could probably be there in a few minutes." The orange Earth Pony bit her lip at Trixie's obvious distress. It didn't seem to miss Lyra's own, despite the mint green unicorn working to hide it. "Hold on," she insisted. "Is it really that important that you get to where you're going quickly?" Trixie pointed her straight up. "It is, if we don't want to be outside in this," she responded. "Is that all?" A confirming nod from Trixie. She pointed down the path that led to her house. "You can come inside if you like. I was just about to make myself some lunch." "Oh no, we wouldn't want to impose," Trixie lied. For herself at least. "No, I insist," the Earth Pony said, trying behind Trixie and Lyra and shooting them towards inside her house. A rusted cottage about 100 feet from the fence. Trixie put up only a small show of resisting before the three of them crossed the distance from the fence to the Earth Pony's front door and made their way inside. Trixie did not hide her very real sigh of relief as she got out from under the sun's rays and was, instead, safely enclosed by 4 walls and a sturdy roof. The house inside was simple and plainly decorated, looking like it contained little more than a living room, a kitchen, and a few bedrooms, without so much as a second story. "Thank you," Trixie said, as she turned to the Earth Pony who had taken the 2 unicorns in. Yes, Trixie had subtly influenced her towards that decision, with a few well-chosen words set in the right tone of voice, but that didn't mean she couldn't be grateful about it. Her new acquaintance took her tone tresses. "No need," she responded, as she slipped her saddlebags off of her, taking them in her mouth and bringing them into her kitchen. With her bags no longer in the way, Trixie could see her cutie mark, a trio of healthy-looking, green-stalked carrots. After setting them down, she turned back to Trixie and Lyra. "My name is Carrot Top, incidentally. Lyra Heartstrings," the mint unicorn said, as she used her magic to slide off her gatsby cap and wool cloak. She used the levitated cap to point to Trixie. "And this is Trixie Just Trixie!" the other unicorn interrupted, with an angry glare towards her companion, before turning back to Carrot Top. "I'm Ponyville's new representative from the Night Court of Luna." Trixie tried to keep the pride from her voice with that statement. She tried. She did not succeed, but she didn't feel particularly bad about that, either. Carrot Top's eyes widened a little at the proclamation. "Oh my!" she exclaimed, drawing up to Trixie and giving a slight brow. So would that be Lady Trixie, or Countess, or Vicereine, or—" Trixie shook her head, trying to hide her enjoyment at the bow. "Just Trixie, or Representative Trixie, I suppose. I'm not a noble." Carrot Top seemed to be simultaneously surprised that the princess would appoint a commoner to the position of Ponyville representative, and comforted by the thought that Ponyville's new rep would be a mayor of the people. For what Trixie understood, the previous holder, Blue Blood something or something Blue Blood, Trixie hadn't bothered to remember, had kept his noble person distant from the ponies of Ponyville prior to his retirement from office just a few weeks ago. "Anyway," Lyra interrupted, "we don't want to impose. We'll just wait out midday here and be on our way." "To the apples," Carrot Top added, her voice losing more than a bit of joy. She looked at Trixie. "So this is probably about the longest night festival, isn't it?" Trixie nodded at the mention of the celebration of the winter solstice, coming up in just 2 days. "Yes," she confirmed. I've been appointed as the official overseer at the festival. The apples are overseeing the food stalls, and I am given to understand. She looked out a window at the empty, snow-covered fields surrounding the house. So, you're a carrot farmer, I take it. Given the pony's name and cutie mark, it was hardly a surprise when she nodded in affirmation. What have you got planned? The farmer blinked a few times at Trixie's question. I'm sorry? She asked. For the festival, Trixie continued. Or is it some kind of surprise? The golden earth pony's eyes continued to flare in confusion for a few moments. I don't have any plans, she said, as though the answer should have been obvious. The apples are overseeing the food stalls. It was now Trixie's turn to be confused. Well, yes, because of Terrace's experience with coordinating large numbers of ponies, she said. But you don't want to miss a sales opportunity like the longest night, do you? Trixie? Lara asked, stepping next to the blue unicorn. That's not how it works in Ponyville. At least, not with the big-time festivals in fall, winter, and spring. The apples run all the food stalls. Why? That's just how it is, Representative, Carrot Top said, shrugging a little. It might have something to do with the apples being the founding family of Ponyville. There are other farms, and we get to set up stalls during any number of the big celebrations, but not during the longest night, the evening time, or the inner gathering. Trixie considered that. More specifically, she considered the thought of having only apples eat in 2 days' time. Apple fritters, apple pies, apple juice, caramel apple, candy apple, apple cider. That's stupid. That's not what's happening this year. Chapter 2. Many meetings. Now you wait just one pick a minute! The orange earth pony, Applejack, objected, pointing a hoof at Trixie. I don't know where y'all think you could just change the way things have been going on for centuries, but here in Ponyville, the longest night is an apple family night. Not this year, Trixie objected, staring at the hoof pointed at her, and wondering when the last time she heard such a thick country drawl was. Less than a year ago, she had been chatting pleasantly with Carrot Top over a simple lunch the Earth Pony had prepared for her and Lyra. Now, she felt like she was involved in a physical wrestling match. A wrestling match that could go south real fast. Given that the entire Apple clan scene was just in the next room of the Apple's surprisingly modest-sized estate. I like apples as much as the next pony, but the thought of eating just apples all day? No. I like a little variety to my festivals. I just what gives you the right, Applejack demanded, leaning forward threateningly. Trixie straightened herself. Not what? She clarified. Who? Her Majesty, Luna Equestria, Shepherd of the Moon, Caretaker of the Sun, Mistress of the Star Beast, Sovereign of the Three Tribes, Ruler of Equestria, my mentor, and your princess! It was Trixie's turn to jab a hoof at the obstinate pony. Just as her appointed festival overseer, I have final say as to what can go into the catering. And what I say is that there's not going to be just apples, but carrots, grapes, pears, and celery, and broccoli, and baked goods that don't have apples in them, and anything any pony wants! Applejack fumed. Well, the pony said, tipping her Stetson hat over her eyes, y'all may be able to say what you want in. But the plain simple truth concerning it is that other farms ain't got the stockpiles. Applejack beamed as though in stark victory, tapping a hoof firmly on the wooden floor of the living area they were in, probably to indicate the expansive storehouse that lay just beneath their hoofs. We've been preparing all year. Got a special hoard saved since the last harvest, carefully preserved to be up to the finest apple standards and using only the best apples we could book. Applejack's smile turned back into an icy glare, significantly colder than even the weather outside. No pony else will be able to match the quality. They just pile up their stock and freeze them and hope for the best. I'm sure they'll be able to dig out something, Trixie insisted. You think Her Majesty, Princess Luna Equestria, Shepherd of the Moon, and so on and so forth, will be okay with just any old thing that's been dug out? Trixie blinked a few times at that. The Earth Pony, unfortunately, had her there. For the mortal alicorn, or perhaps because she was an immortal alicorn, the princess was extremely picky either. It was her one major flaw. Now look, Applejack said, her tone changing from anger to a more conciliatory one. I'm sure y'all came here with the best of intentions, but my family running the longest night. Is this the way things been done around here? The way things will always get done. We need them sales to keep Sweet Apple Acres up and running smoothly. We can't have other farms just cutting into our profits. Trixie's eyes widened a little at that. The Apple Trust has a near-complete monopoly on all apples in Equestria! She exclaimed. She jabbed a hoof past Applejack, at the living area where the rest of the Apple clan, plus Lyra, were waiting, probably listening in on every word. How could she possibly? It's a foreign thing, Applejack interrupted. I don't expect the fancy Canterlot mayor. Actually, I'm from New Orleans. Well, I'm sorry for my assumption. But I don't expect any Senate mayor to understand the delicate situation the Apple clan is in. Farms are always on the edge of disaster. One blight can ruin a whole harvest season. Down there it did back when I was just a little filly. A blight that spread to almost every apple farm in the country. And if it weren't for a godly pit of foresight and saving for that very predicament, why, the entire Apple Trust might go under. Trixie found that hard to believe. Not the nationwide apple blight, as she had vague memories of that back before she became Princess Luna's protege. Rather, that it had ever seriously cut into the Apple Trust's coffers. Even if it was true, with their near-total monopoly on apples, the Trust would have been in a better position than any other apple farming family to recover from the blight. If anything, it had probably driven their last true competition out of business. Trixie let out a sigh. This Applejack was as stubborn as a mule, as she wasn't going to change her mind anytime soon, no matter what tack she took. Fine, Trixie conceded at length. Fine, I'll just pack a lunch, or bring my own snacks or something to the longest night. Considering Trixie's eating habits in this story, I'm afraid. Applejack beamed at her victory. I don't think we'll disappoint Miss Trixie. Never have. This ain't the first time Princess Luna has had the longest night in Ponyville, and she's come away smiling like a school filly every time. Trixie nodded. Fine. As the two trotted out of the room they had been in, and into the living room, Trixie made a conscious effort to keep her eyes on the floor, and ignore a significant number of glares she was getting from the rest of the Apple clan for what she had said during the overheard conversation. Thanks for the food, I guess. If you'll excuse me, I have a lot to do. She made her way over to Lyra, who was already getting her gaspy cat and wool cloak back on, and was standing near the door. The door was blocked, however, by a small filly with a red mane and straw-colored coat. She was glaring at Trixie, and stuck her tongue out in a very pointed and determined fashion, blowing a raspberry at the unicorn. Apple Bloom! Applejack's voice ejected. Matthias! The small filly ejected strongly. We can't just let her go while my after. Yes, you can, Apple Bloom, Dora's mare explained, trying over to the filly and scooting her out of the way of the door. Lyra and Trixie both gave polite goodbyes, and left as quickly as possible. The two were silent for several minutes, as they trudged along the snow-bordered dirt path, before Lyra looked at Trixie. Was that filly going to suggest you get tarred and feathered? She asked. Of course not, Trixie answered, doing nothing to keep the bitterness from her voice. She was going to suggest I be lynched! Ah, Lyra said, nodding sagely. She sighed a moment later. Look, you tried, and I'm not going to lie. I was not expecting that from you. I think it's great and all that you were trying to get that carrot farmer a place in the longest night. But that's just not how things happen in Ponyville. Trixie made a face. I wasn't doing it for her, she responded. I mean, okay, yeah, it'd be great for her business, and from the looks of things she needed it. But I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it for me. She looked at Lyra. I mean, try to imagine eating an apple that hasn't been chucked up, mixed with broccoli and alfalfa seeds, poppy seeds, drenched in butter, and I mean a whole stick of butter. Real butter, not that fake stuff they have nowadays, and breadcrumbs, and then fry the whole thing up! Trixie grinned at her own recipe. Oh, and with eggs, 2 eggs, scrambled and mixed in.
Lara blinked a few times at the thoroughly resounding diss.
I'm having an easy time imagining not eating an apple like that. Actually, huh? Trixie replied, honestly surprised. Doesn't that sound delicious?
No.
Huh?
There was a drawn-out silence between the two, before Lyra finally broke it.
So now where? She asked. Well, after that fiasco, I'm in the mood for something easy, Trixie responded. So I guess Weather Patrol, if you can find it.
Lyra mumbled something under her breath at Trixie's last comment, which Trixie chose to ignore.
Back to town,
the mint green unicorn proclaimed, as the two began prying back towards Ponyville proper.
Rainbow Dash! If you don't get your polychromatic flank in here, oh hello there, in 5 minutes, then I'm going to quit and take the entire team with me!
The jasmine-coated, blue-maned Pegasus, with 3 drops of water for a cutie mark, shouted at the top of her lungs, after flowing to open the door to the Weather Patrol station, just as Trixie was about to knock on it. She had only barely been able to dodge out of the way of being killed by blunt force trauma from the door. The 2 unicorns stared, wide-eyed at the Pegasus, frozen in place. The Pegasus, for her part, had her gray-blue eyes focused intently on the winter sky, as he breathed deeply, apparently waiting for some pony named Rainbow Dash. Lyra said at length, breaking the silence.
Hi.
Hello. The Pegasus repeated, not breaking eye contact with the sky. What are you here for? Lyra turned to Trixie, cleared her throat a little.
My name is Trixie, she said. I'm the new representative of Luna's Night Court to Ponyville.
The festival overseer?
The Pegasus guessed. Yes, Trixie responded. I just thought I'd stop by and see how the Weather Patrol is doing.
She looked up at the wintry sky, which was marred by a few cirrus clouds, but otherwise was a clear, perfect blue.
And everything seems fine, actually.
The Pegasus blinked a few times, tearing her eyes away from the sky and glaring at Trixie. Fine! She demanded. Fine!
Well, there's a few clouds, Trixie admitted, but you've got 2 days to clear them, and I don't imagine it'll be very hard to keep new ones from forming.
The Pegasus leaned forward. Are you serious? She demanded. Then looked to Lyra, wings fluttering in agitation. Is she serious? Everything isn't fine! There's a storm building over the Everfree right now, probably coming this way, and our weather manager has disappeared! Again! She paused a moment. I'm Raindrops, by the way. Hi. The Pegasus turned around and stopped and saw the tall spire near Ponyville Center that was the Weather Patrol station, the tallest structure in Ponyville. She then closed the door behind her, so Trixie decided to take that as an invitation to enter, with Lyra following. Inside, the tower was mostly hollow space, with various Pegasi flittering in about the 2 upper levels, looking over the charts, maps, and plans that were plastered across the building's inner walls. All in all, there were maybe 24 Pegasi in the station, all of them looking extraordinarily busy, and none of them particularly coordinated. Trixie heard several statements along the lines of, "Our plans are ruined! It would be just before the longest night festival before this happened." And most commonly, "Where in the princess's name is Rainbow Dash?"
So,
Trixie said, as he trotted up to Raindrops before the Pegasi could fly straight up and away.
Why are you making a storm in the Everfree Forest if it's going to be such a problem?
Raindrops' eyes widened at that. Why are we... She began. Then shook her mane. Right, new here. We don't make the weather in Everfree.
Then who does?
Nobody does. The Everfree does what the Everfree wants. Trixie blinked a few times as he tried to wrap her mind around that one.
The weather happens just on its own?
Trixie blinked a few times as he tried to wrap her mind around that one.
The weather just happens on its own?
She asked. Raindrops flickered in annoyance. Don't know why. Best us weather ponies can do is deal with it as it rolls over us. Good news is that once it leaves Everfree's airspace, we can work it again. Bad news, of course, being that until it does, there isn't a thing we can do about it, meaning some very large storms could build up. Raindrops gestured half-heartedly to the Ponyvillian weather team, You're looking at the most overworked, underappreciated ponies in Equestria. Trixie couldn't help but notice a slight tug at the corner of Raindrop's lips as he said that. If forced to hazard a guess, Unicorn could have ventured that Raindrops, despite her completing, enjoyed the job and the challenge it presented. The Unicorn trotted over to one wall, where a map of the Everfree Forest had been set up. A weather diagram, the likes of which Trixie had never seen before, placed next to it. The diagram made mention of air pressure, humidity, average temperature, and something called forecasts of the Everfree Forest's upcoming weather. The diagram also made it pretty clear it was all just a bunch of guesswork. That's useless now, Raindrops answered as he came alongside Trixie, facing up a hoof and tearing down the weather diagram, tossing it into a nearby garbage bin. The Everfree looked like it was going to be pretty quiet. Then this heat wave came out of nowhere a few days ago and started messing everything up. Hot air from the Everfree is mixing in with the cold air from the rest of Equestria. Might be a thunderstorm, a blizzard, tornado, hurricane. I don't know what's brewing in there, but it's arriving soon. And if we're lucky, it won't hit until after the longest night has passed. She paused a moment, but we're not lucky. And your weather manager has disappeared at a time like this? Trixie asked incredulously. Raindrops' almost smile disappeared, replaced by a rather firm frown as her wings sagged. Rainbow Dash. She just up and disappeared after her last shift. Disappeared? Lyra asked. Trixie jumped, having forgotten her fellow unicorn was nearby. But Raindrops seemed to take the mint-green unicorn's appearance in easy stride. Pop! Gone! I'm not worried. She does it all the time. But she has a real knack for picking the worst possible times. Raindrops shook her mane. She's the fastest flyer in Equestria. Brags about that a lot. But I've seen her move, and it's star-sworn truth. When the Everfree storm hits, we'll need her. Once again, Raindrops considered her own words. Not that she'll be there. Without her leading to us, Cloudkicker's the one in charge, but... She pointed a hoof upwards. Flitting about from one pony in one station to the next was a Pegasus mare with a gray coat, yellow mane and tail, looking incredibly frazzled, and talking incoherently to each pony she met. I will not do a lifetimes of a winning pony joke! No! No matter how much I love that version of Cloudkicker, I won't do it! No! Oh, come on. You guys have been with me over a year. Are you really surprised I've read that fic? Okay, I haven't read all of it, but I've read some of it. Raindrops watched her impassively for a few moments. She doesn't take pressure well, said the Pegasus. Lyra and Trixie looked between each other. The latter began to suspect Raindrops' name and cutie mark didn't simply represent a talent for making precipitation. Well, Trixie said, tipping her head a little, you have a lot of work to do. I'll leave you to it. Thanks. We'll do what we can for the festival, just... Raindrops offered her a resigned shrug. No promises. The two unicorns made their way from the weather station. Trixie wearing a grimace that would have done Raindrops proud. So, she said, nothing but apples in a few days. Plus, we might all die in a blizzard, or get sucked up in a tornado, or struck by lightning. This is shaping up nicely. Lyra frowned herself. Yeah, I'm not liking this sound very much. The pony said, I think I'd rather have just had the longest night come and have it all collapse around me, rather than see it falling to pieces ahead of time. Trixie glared at Lyra, but to her surprise, the other unicorn offered a somewhat playful bump with one shoulder. Calm down, the unicorn insisted. It's not your fault. No, but as overseer, I'm going to be blamed for it, Trixie pointed out, sighing. I wonder if Luna knew that everything was going to the sun and back here and sent me because of it. That seems mean, Lyra said, making a face at the thought of the princess being so needlessly cruel. Despite the implications, however, it didn't seem beyond the realm of possibility. If anything, it fit right in with the stories of the political sniping and shadowing games that was the food and drink of the night court of Luna. She was less than happy with me the last time we spoke, she said,
After the Ice Palace thing, we got into an argument about how I'm not taking my studies seriously anymore, and I said it's because none of it mattered. She looked at Lyra. I mean, you've got a musical education, and a direction you want your life to move in. Me, all I had to look forward to was another year of the same stuff. It was getting old. So, you think that Princess Luna set you up to fail? Lyra asked. Wouldn't put it past her. Trixie mulled this thought for a few minutes, then shook her mane. Whatever. Let's just move on to the decorations. It's supposed to be overseen by some unicorn pony named Rarity. Lyra faltered a moment at that. Ugh! She groaned, turning down a path with Trixie in tone. She began chanting a number to herself. A large, round number that was, coincidentally, the payment she was receiving from Luna to serve as Trixie's escort. So, you know her? Trixie gasped. Lyra ground her teeth together. Yes! No! The white unicorn said in a firm voice. No, no, no! You cannot simply wear the ensemble around town anymore! Trixie's eyes were wide, as she reared up on her hind legs, using a hoof to fend off her attacker. I like my hairy cape! Yes, and I'm so defined if you want to cry out, Circus attraction! Rarity proclaimed, as she closed in, horn glowing as he levitated measuring tape, scissors, and fabric. But if you want to be a new noble representative of the night court, Princess Luna did ennoble me! I mean noble as a metaphor, darling. Gallant, upright, dignified! All these things and more, which you are most certainly are not while wearing those rags. Trixie leapt backwards. No easy feat when standing on two legs. Let her own horn glow beneath her hat, calling up a solid blue bubble of arcane energy around herself. Just as the measuring tape held by Rarity lunged. It smacked harmlessly against Trixie's impromptu shield. These aren't rags! Trixie proclaimed. And they match my coat and eyes perfectly, and they are both enchanted several times over, making them worth more than their weight in gold. Trixie paused, then a long sigh as he remembered a few details about the shield spell she had cast. And you can't hear me because this bubble's airtight. Great! Rarity was still poised on the other side of the shield, talking fervently to Lyra, as the musician tried to calm down the fastened desire. But the white unicorn's eyes hadn't left their deathlock on Trixie's own. At a guess, Trixie supposed he had 5 minutes of air inside the bubble, and briefly entertained the idea of letting herself suffocate, before remembering that wouldn't work. As soon as she lost consciousness, the spell would fail, and she would be helpless while Rarity would be free to do things to her! Horrible, unspeakable things! Like trying to put her in something frilly, or, Luna forbid, a dress. Trixie waited until the air began to get stale, before letting her air shield fail away. Rarity didn't lunge immediately, which Trixie took as a good sign. I'm not here for a makeover, the blue unicorn said, slowly and determinedly. I'm here to see how the decorations are coming. Rarity pouted. Well, of course they are coming in fine and fine, just magnificently, darling. The pony said. The horn glowed once more, and Trixie flinched, but the other unicorn merely grabbed an overly large sketchbook. She opened to a page and presented to Trixie. Inside of it, she used pencils of various colors to stretch out a remarkably detailed picture of Ponyville's town hall, the large auditorium of which could be hosting the opening ceremonies of Longest Night. The auditorium had been bedlocked with various banners, curtains, and tassels, and other fineries, with stalls set up along the edges to provide food and drinks for ponies. The stage, meanwhile, was dominated by the flag of Equestria, hanging down from its center, a stylized 8-armed blue sun, with a darkened crescent moon inside of it, the horns pointing downwards, and tucked between the horns of a moon of a single white star. It was a beautiful drawing. However, it was just a drawing. Trixie looked at Rarity, eyebrow raised. That's nice, she said, but how far along with this are you? Oh, just about finished, of course, Rarity said, pointing the sketch away. In fact, I shall be putting the finishing touches on it later tonight. You could stop by then, if you like, say around sundown. Or you could come by tomorrow, perhaps, and we could spend the midday together. Trixie debated whether she be trapped outside or trapped with Rarity during the midday, and found both thoughts equally unpleasant. Tomorrow, she said, but probably after midday. Say around 2 o'clock.
The white unicorn pouted a little.
Very well, Miss Trixie, she said. I'll see you then.
Trixie turned to leave, but stopped when she heard Rarity add,
And I'll be sure to bring some emergency faster supplies with me. You can keep the clown suit if you really want, but eyes, a maid, a coat like yours really shouldn't be wasted by someone in your position.
Trixie's eyes were slightly larger than dinner plates as he fled Carousel Boutique, Rarity's home and store, at a full gallop. Lyra caught up with some effort as Trixie stopped at a tree outside that she had ducked and hid behind, albeit not very well.
And now you know.
Lyra said with a laugh.
Trixie glared at Lyra. You, she hissed. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Maybe a little.
Lyra laughed, pulling down the brim of her Gatsby. Well, Rarity made a few comments about her own choice of dress, namely that she thinks that Lyra should be wearing a hoodie, but everybody shuddered at that thought. She had been entirely focused on Trixie when she had learned that who the Blue Unicorn was and what she was doing in Ponyville.
Lighten up, Trixie. Rarity at least seems to have all decorations in perfect... Oh, hi, Charlie!
Lyra's gaze turned to the magenta earth pony with pink hair, wearing a warm-looking wool coat and cap ensemble. The pony paused at the sight of Lyra. A wide grin split her features.
Lyra!
She claimed, trotting up to the unicorn as Lyra did likewise.
When did you get back to Ponyville?
A few hours ago, Lyra admitted, as the two nuzzled affectionately, clearly old friends.
I'm showing Trixie here around town.
Oh! Lyra took a step away from Cheerilee, pointing to Trixie.
Cheerilee, this is Trixie. She's going to be a representative of Luna's night court to Ponyville.
She held out a hoof when Cheerilee started to bow respectfully.
Don't do that.
She isn't a noble and enjoys seeing ponies do that way too much. Trixie pouted slightly, but found herself doing it mostly for show than putting any actual feeling behind it.
Trixie, this is Cheerilee. She's my second oldest friend here in Ponyville, and she's studying to be a school teacher.
Cheerilee smiled, dropped at that, and looked down.
Oh, she said in a low voice. I guess you didn't hear. I'm not studying for that anymore.
Lyra blinked a few times.
I'm sorry,
she said, looking mortified. I didn't...
Because I graduated and run Ponyville's elementary school now!
Cheerilee exclaimed, a smile returning with full force, beaming like the stars. Lyra and Cheerilee both made sounds that were just inside Trixie's range of hearing, but well inside her audio pain threshold. She put her hose to her ears and waited for the two friends to stop squealing with joy and prancing around each other.
Congratulations!
Cheerilee offered a polite nod at that, but turned back to Lyra, clearly intent on catching up with her old friend.
So, have you seen Bonbon yet?
Lyra shook her head, and one of Trixie's eyebrows raised as she noticed Lyra's smile shifted from joy at seeing an old friend to embarrassed and yet wistful. Also began to blush at color that matched Cheerilee's coat. Trixie decided to mentally file that away as interesting as she watched the two.
I've been dragging Trixie around town,
Lyra said, gesturing to her companion,
and it's been 3 years since I saw her. I mean, I really had a chance to see her, not just a quick weekend visit, and I don't want to show up and...
Lyra was interrupted by Cheerilee putting a hoof on her shoulder. Her own smile shifted to be warm and caring.
Stop avoiding her, she advised. She's been waiting long enough.
Lyra blinked at that, before nodding fervently. Right, she said. No problem.
Anyway,
Cheerilee said, pointing a hoof past Lyra and at Carousel Boutique,
I've got an appointment to keep about decorations.
Her voice betrayed no love lost for Rarity. Something else which Trixie decided to file away as interesting.
I'll see you around, Lyra, but not before you've seen Bonbon!
She turned to Trixie.
And you too, Representative,
she said, offering a deep, overtly formal bow before taking off. Trixie blinked a few more times.
Ha!
She said, turning around to get ready to trot to her next destination.
I got my bow in spite of your best stars above!
The exclamation came as she found herself face to face, noses touching even, with a blue-eyed, pink-coated pony who seemed to be staring into her soul. Trixie stumbled backwards, Thankfully, the pink pony didn't move. Trixie stared at the pony. She began. The pink pony let out a gigantic gasp, and then immediately sped off. Running away at speeds Trixie thought only Pegasi were capable of, pulling and quickly disappearing into Ponyville. The blue unicorn pinked, trying to focus her heart to stop attempting to burst from her chest in shock. She noticed Lyra standing there at her own eyes wide, but with a look of utter defeat on her face. I'm sorry. The unicorn apologized, as though telling Trixie her aunt and uncle had died. I am so sorry.